All right, so what other climate proxies do we find in the seafloor sediment? There's lots of them. Hopefully you came up with some good ideas. I'll give you a freebie. One of them is pollen. So fossilized pollen shows up in right, that abyssal clay, that wind-blown clay, because pollen is very, very small. It's meant to fly in the wind. And we know that different types of vegetation grow in different climates, right? You're more likely to find grass pollen in a warm climate, more likely to find, say, a conifer pollen in a cold climate. So if we can identify the type of pollen, we know what type of climate zone it would have grown in, and then we can infer what type of climate was there when that fossil pollen was actually growing and still alive. Not that the pollen itself is alive, but you get the idea, the plant that it was in. Um, so what you are going to do for an activity is to follow along with this assignment, this link here, which I'll post below this video so you can click on it, that looks at fossil pollen, like real data of real fossil pollen from real sediment cores taken from the ocean. And you're going to use this program called GeoMap app. GeoMap app is a map-based application that you can use on your computer. It's free, it's fairly simple to use, and you can use it to browse or visualize all sorts of different global and regional data sets. You can look at, for example, the different types of sediment on the seafloor. You can look at the different types of geochemistry on the seafloor. You can look at climate based on the seafloor. You can also look at pollen from the seafloor. So we're going to use this to view fossil pollen and sediment cores to interpret the past climate of Earth. The very first part of the activity is going to walk you through looking at fossil pollen from Antarctica to figure out how the climate of Antarctica has changed. And then after that, you're going to look at the timing of the last major glacial episode in North America, and its impact on plant life. So I do want you to do both of these things before coming to class. It's just one link, right? So just click on this link. It'll take you to the web page. There'll be several pages. You click through them, you work through them every step of the way. There's helpful links. There's helpful examples. It's going to ask you questions as it goes along. Sometimes it's going to say like copy and paste your graph and paste it into your journal. I don't actually expect you to keep a journal, so you don't have to do all of the prompts it tells you. But I do want you to take notes so that when you come to class, we can talk about what you learned. You're also able to answer the top hat questions at the end of this. And there's some of the prompts that you are not going to be able to do. Unfortunately, there's a few data sets that it wants you to use that are no longer available, or you click on the link and they just don't exist. In your assignment, I tell you which prompts you're not going to be able to do. But what's really nice about this assignment, this web page, is that it tells you to do something and then it shows you what the answer would have been if you did it. So for those, you're not going to be able to do it yourself, but you will be able to see the answer. So you'll still be able to like understand the process and work through the questions. So go ahead and complete activity 1 in your homework packet now. We will review your answers in class. Know that if you get stuck, if you are confused, the program doesn't work, you can still answer the questions in this top hat because it will give you the answers if you read through the prompts. And it's important that you work through this activity before class because when you get to class, we're going to do another activity together and I'm going to expect you to already have GeoMap app, already understand all the processes and be ready to hit the ground running. So go ahead and do that. And then answer the application questions, which are, what can we infer about climate of the Antarctic Peninsula 34 million years ago, based on the presence of the pollen you're looking at? And briefly describe the evolution of Antarctic's climate from that time to today, right? How has the climate changed over time? Be sure to cite evidence like from the data set that you're looking at and be specific. And then I also want you to, based on your second activity, describe the relationship between the location of the North American ice sheet and the abundance of this type of pollen through time. All right, so there'll be open response questions.